we're having the Entrepreneurial Enterprise Boot Camp. We've had so many empowerment sessions over the last week to help you grow your business. And so we're really, really, really excited. Our president, Mr. Williams, cannot be on this session, but we're going to keep the things happening. What I like to do at this point is bring up C. Renee Wilson, our relationship manager and fundraising guru for the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. She helps bring in the money. And so we appreciate that, and we appreciate all her years of hard work helping to keep the lights on and keep you all getting those good services that we deliver each and every day. Ms. Wilson, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson. I appreciate that. Good afternoon and morning to some. As he said, my name is C. Renee Wilson, and I am the relationship manager for the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. And today I have the pleasure of introducing a couple of our partners. So we are going to take a power partner pause. And we do this because we want to take a pause for the cause, which is increasing Black home ownership. And so the one reason is to thank our partners. We want you guys to know that we genuinely appreciate everything that you do. We appreciate the strategy, conversations. We appreciate the results that come from that. We appreciate the resources and everything that you do. And we look forward to your continued support in 2021. And the second reason that we do this Power Partner Pause is to give you an opportunity to speak directly to our Realtors members and other real estate professionals that are attending our virtual conference. So you can share with them, who you are, what you do, and the relationship that we have. So first we will start with, it's Eddie Perez, CMB, President and CEO of Equity Prime Mortgage. But in his stead today, Logan Judah is the VP of Secondary Fulfillment, and he's going to share with us today on behalf of Equity Prime.
Thank you Logan. So much. Really, it's a great honor to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation and allowing us to speak and be really a part of a great organization. I know that we are looking forward to 2021 and just continue to build the relationships and really continue to empower everyone we come in contact with, everyone we help. So really all about empowering the individuals that work here, empowering the communities, empowering homeowners. Our goal is to do that every single day, and we live by that. And we're excited to assist in every possible way we can. So really is an honor. Just want to keep it short and sweet, but thank you so much. And this is fantastic. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Logan. We appreciate your time and filling in for Eddie, and tell him we said thank you as well. Very much appreciate it. Okay. Next, we're going to hear from a longtime supporter, friend of the organization, a powerhouse woman, Teresa. Thank you for everything that you do. Next, we'll hear from Teresa Palacios Smith. And Teresa is the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Home Services of America, a Berkshire Hathaway affiliate. Thank you so much for your support, Teresa.
Oh, thank you so much. And hello, everybody, family. It's so great to see everybody at this conference, and what a great one it has been. Mr. Thompson, it's great to see you. Thank you for the opportunity to get in front of this great group, especially this session, and also for allowing me to provide you with some remarks today. And I want to tell you that this has been a challenging year, 2020. Can you believe all that has happened? But I always say that wherever there is change and wherever there's uncertainty, right, there's opportunity. And certainly that's not my quote. That's a quote from Mark Cuban. You hear it. With challenges does come opportunities. And the line in the famous movie, right, that I see you, I see you. And I think for the very first time that many companies are seeing the true history, the background, the disparity, right, that still exists even after the passing of the Fair Housing Act that was supposed to change everything, that Martin Luther King fought so hard for, right? That homeownership rates for Black Americans is still at an all-time low, and it hasn't changed. And so we have to change it. And I'm proud to say that we have been a partner of NAREB for so many years. And the commitment to growing homeownership and minority franchise ownership as well is stronger than ever. This year, we started the Home Services of America Foundation, and that is going to be an effort that we initiate in 2021. And the number one goal is to help more people of color get into homes. That is our goal. We've also committed with our lending partner, and love that you've got equity, because Eddie Perez has been a longtime friend of ours. As you know, many of you, I was NAREB president, and he was also very committed there. That's how I got to know most of you here in this room. But with Prosperity Home Mortgage, we also have a commitment to NAREB. Home Services of America owns Prosperity Mortgage. It's part of our initiative to also provide more lending opportunities for Black Americans with their initiative in 2021. So I'm so proud of that. And the last thing I want to say is that for all of you, if you're not familiar with our CEO, Gino Blefari, he actually is the CEO of all our companies. He has done what you do on a daily basis. He has sold real estate. He actually was a broker. He actually bought a company, an independent brokerage company, Intero. He then sold that company to Warren Buffett. So think about all the steps that he's taken. He's actually done it. And he now runs the largest real estate corporation in the country. And he understands the actual steps that it takes. And he wants to help you as well in that journey. So thank you so much. We're so excited about all that you're doing at NAREB and for the opportunities that we see that we'll be partnering with in 2021. Thanks again, Renee, for this opportunity to speak.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And we are excited about the things we're going to continue to be able to do in 2021. Appreciate your time. And to all of our partners as this conference comes to an end, thank you all so very much for everything you've done. We truly appreciate it. So that is the end of our Power Partner Pause. Mr. Thompson?
Thank you. And she gets it right every time. Power Partner Pause. That's so phenomenal. Thank you, Ms. Wilson, for all of your hard work and really keeping our partners engaged. And to all the partners that just spoke, Teresa and Logan, thank you for your leadership and participation. And stay safe this holiday season. Next, we will give you a few of the housekeeping rules for today. We will have the chat box open. Everyone will be muted except for the panelists. Panelists, if you're not speaking, if you can keep your at least into the first couple speakers that we keep all the other folks, please keep yourself muted. And if you have comments or questions, put them in the chat box. We'll have a nice, very robust conversation with two very distinguished individuals, very distinguished. Amari Head is a director at Paramount Lodging Advisors, a national advisory team exclusively committed to the hospitality industry. He leads the Washington, D.C. office and has advised on more than 140 hotel transactions with a passion for equity and inclusion in lodging investments. He speaks at various events throughout the year aimed at introducing hotel ownership. That's right, ownership to underrepresented populations. And the other thing, he has some great taste in colors. He loves that black and old gold, that alpha man. He's got a nice stride and alpha walk. So we like him for that as well. This next gentleman, Kevin Hicks, is a partner with Blackman and Associates, a franchise consulting firm, which provides franchise advisory and acquisition services for individuals and companies. Blackman and Associates identifies the most viable and lucrative franchise opportunities for its clients with both startup and existing businesses. For the last 25 years, Mr. Hicks has been a leading advocate for minority franchising. And he's got some swag too. He says he lives in Atlanta and Nashville, but he's got Harlem roots. So, he's got the New York swag, been transplanted to Atlanta. He got businesses across the country, but he's got that New York swag. So let's give a nice Realtors welcome, a virtual welcome to our panelists. All right. Welcome. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to have Kevin Hicks just give us a quick 10-minute overview about how to get into franchising. Then we're going to go into Amari. He did really talk about hotel, how do you get into hotel opportunities? And then we're going to have a nice round robin hearty conversation, a lot of questions that they will be answering, and put your questions in the chat as well. So Mr. Hicks, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. First, I want to thank President Williams and also Executive Director Antoine as well for the kind invitation to share a few thoughts with you today. I also want to congratulate all of the members of your organization for the very important work that they do and your initiative to try to increase Black home ownership across the country. As many of us know, it is a foundational asset to wealth building, and it is one that we historically were restricted both in the private sector and through government, and through long and hard struggle. We're in a position now to actually own homes, and I support your efforts and all of your initiatives and your fine membership and leadership. That being said, to answer your question, let's first talk about what franchising is. Franchising, folks, is really simply a business model to entrepreneurship. That's what it is. And it is based on a very simple concept, and that concept is someone has created a business model, and franchising goes across all segments and all industries of business. And in exchange for a fee, they're giving you the opportunity to participate in their business model in whatever the selected industry is. So that's what franchising is. How does one get into franchising? Well, quite simply, franchising, as I said, goes across all sorts of industries. And the thing to keep in mind is franchising covers probably about 50% of all retail sales. And that's over $1 trillion in revenues that are transferred in this concept. So it is certainly one we need to be involved in. And when you go through the course of your day, just think about how many of you go through the course of your day. When you get in your vehicle, that's a franchise you got that from. When you go get gas, that's a franchise you got that from. When you go get the coffee, more than likely it's a franchise. When you take the quick lunch, probably a franchise. When you go to work out after work, probably a franchise. When you go get the smoothie afterwards, probably a franchise. And even when you pick up your mail, if you're working from home, probably a franchise. So clearly you can see how it takes up a major portion of this economy in terms of wealth creation, income, jobs. How does one get into it? Well, the first thing is know the places to look so you can find out all of the things that are franchises. There are 3 sites that I'm going to recommend to you. One is franchising.com. There's another one, franchisedirect.com. And then the largest trade organization, which Antoine is located in Washington, D.C., the International Franchise Association, is franchise.org. If you go to those sites, you can go through all the various industries and see the franchises that are available to you. Well, what is franchising? How do you get into franchising? There's 3 basic fees you need to keep in mind. Franchising has 3 basic fees. One would be the royalty fee. That's how they make their money. It is a commission on every dollar that you make. As I tell people, and I go to around the country to business conferences, and I see minority businesses all vying for that set-aside contract with the Fortune 1000 company that many times they may not be able to qualify for, or the governmental opportunities for set-asides. I say franchising is the best set-aside in the world, because in this set-aside, you get the 90% and they get the 10. So in the case of, for example, I own multiple franchises. I have 2 Papa John's restaurants. I own 2 Subway restaurants. I have a Marriott hotel, in addition to a FedEx trucking company. In the case of my Subway restaurants, I pay them 8 cents on every dollar. That's the royalty. That's the commission they pay for. In the case of the Papa John's, it's 6 cents on every dollar. And I keep the 94. What is the other fee? The other fee is called the marketing fee. When you see these wonderful commercials on radio, or you see them in magazines, that's paid for by the franchisees. They all contribute to a national fund that pays for that. That's the marketing fee. In the case of my Subway restaurants, that would be 3.5 cents. Later on in the conversation, as I take some of your questions, I'll give you those numbers for others. So now we're up to 11.5 cents, and I keep the rest of that money. The final fee that you have to worry about is the entry fee, which is called the franchise fee. That franchise fee can vary from as little as $15,000 with a new Subway. If you're buying an existing, it's called the transfer, and it's $10,000. or it can be as much as 50. But what that pays for is a plethora of things. Most people think that when you get your franchise business, okay, peace, see you later, good luck. No, franchises continue to make money only if you make money. So in that way, it's even it's a racism adverse business model as well, because they only make money if you make money. That's why my firm, and this is our 20th year, got into this business, because we saw it was a way to grow Black entrepreneurship and provide the support services that we heretofore did not always have. So they do things like giving you operational support. They give you marketing support. You have the benefit of cooperative buying. They also train you in the business. The other myth you have to get out of your mind is you don't have to have expertise in that business. They actually prefer you don't. They will train you, whether it's Midas Muffler, they will train you in that business. Whether it's GNC, they will train you in that business. What they're looking for is people who can manage people and operate a business. They'll teach you their business. And so that's the wonderful thing about it. And that franchise fee, which is a one-time fee, goes toward all of those support services. Franchise agreements are usually 10 to 20 years, and you get those services ongoing throughout the period of time, in addition to conferences and things of that sort. But those are the three fees: franchise fee, royalty fee, and the marketing fee. Those are the things you need to understand in order to get into franchising. We'll speak a little bit more, a bit later, about how you finance it, the kinds of costs that you're looking at. But that is basically the answer to your question, sir.
We're going to get right into that. Thank you. I want to go to Amari. Brother Amari.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me first and foremost, and I'll just set the table by saying it's awesome to be, here speaking to this audience and with an esteemed panelist and moderators such as yourselves, and appreciate the opportunity. The work that you're doing is extremely important. That is the fact that I was a first-time homeowner in Washington, D.C. I was able to take advantage of being able to invest in my first hotel through a home equity line of credit, right? It's really the cornerstone for wealth. So I just want to, set that up and saying, the work that you're doing is extremely important. It has the opportunity to set the table for so many more investments. As it was noted in the beginning, my name is Omari Head. I'm a director with Paramount Lodging Advisors. So I run the DC desk for the firm. What does it mean? Exactly what I do. I'm a hotel broker and also advisory consultant, really helping people set their strategy. To set the table a little bit more and hit you with some data, pre-COVID, hotels were responsible for 1 in 25 jobs. 1 in 25 jobs in the US. If you were to talk about what that means in terms of wages, that's $395 billion. Right? So about 1.2 trillion just overall sales. And then we're talking about within the US. If you were to break down who owns hotels, it's estimated that less than 2% is owned by Black Americans. If you were to back out a REIT, it falls really far below 1%. There's another association by the name of Asian American Hotel Owner Association. It's estimated that 50 to 60% of their constituents own all the hotels in the US. So setting that as the table, you can see that there's a great opportunity, not just in terms of what does hotel ownership mean, but it's about job creation. And that's the thing that really gets me excited about it, is that you have the chance to own jobs. And when you really talk about what that means, there's an economic empowerment component to that. When you start talking about being responsible, not just for the real estate taxes and that type of stuff, but you're talking about payroll taxes, significant. There's also tourism taxes that are assessed. So you are an economic indicator, which is why that data points that I listed out are so important. Before you get into hotel ownership, I always tell people to start out with their ownership thesis. And that is, why do I want to own? What type of hotel do I want to own? And why? And what is it that's really moving me to that? If I'm getting into this because it's a capital play, I'm looking for an opportunity to make some additional income, to make some money. That's a very different conversation than I'm already invested in other commercial assets commercial asset classes, and I kind of want a trophy piece. So if you want the trophy piece, we can have that conversation. A lot of people come to me and say, I want a boutique hotel. And it's like, well, great. Let me show you how to make $1 million. You start out with 2. Because sometimes if you don't know what you're doing, kind of navigating in that space, you can lose a lot of money. So it's really understanding the opportunity. So hotels are broken out into 3 classifications, and there's a lot of subsectors there. But so there's full service. So think about that. There's hotels that have, a restaurant. Think about your Sheraton. Think about your Marriott Marquis, your Westins. Then there's something called select service. And select service means that they offer food and beverage, but they don't, it's not a full layout. The brand that really kind of drove that forward was Courtyard. And then also Hilton Garden Inn. They have that small food and beverage offering. It's not complimentary. You can get, a quick 8-10 items on the menu. You don't really need a real chef. You got a bunch of cooks back there, easy to prepare stuff. You're doing breakfast and dinner. You're more than likely not doing lunch. That's extremely rare. And then there's something called limited service. And that's, think about like your Hampton Inns, and that has a lot of diversity because you have a Hampton Inn, but you also have something like a Comfort Inn or something even more economical like a Quality Inn, where all you're doing is a free breakfast. And that free breakfast, again, doesn't require a cook. It requires like a crock pot, a toaster oven, and a smile in the morning. That's about it. And that costs you roughly $3 per occupied room. It's pretty cheap. So where are the investments that you should probably be focusing on as a first-time owner? I always tell folks, look at the economy sector. You may not think about it as being the most attractive. So you have to kind of remove yourself from thinking about it as a consumer and look at it more so as an investment. You have really strong cash on cash returns, getting that quality in. Some of these other asset classes, they are awesome. You have to be careful on how you hold it through the life cycle. There's so Kevin touched on the franchise and specifically with that relationship with the franchisor and you being the franchisee, you have to follow guidelines, right? And one of the guidelines is they want you to renovate those rooms. You got to keep it looking fresh. And that's the reason why you like certain brands as a traveler, because they're making the ownership spend that money to keep it refreshed. And those renovations can run you anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000 per key, per room. So it can be pretty healthy. I saw Kevin perk up a little bit at that. You know that all too well. So when you go to do those renovations, right, that can be, if you haven't made a gross amount of income, that can be detrimental. If you're not doing it correctly, you're not budgeting for capital expenditures, that type of thing. Let me tell you why I love the hotel sector. One thing is that outside of the job creation, it's data rich. Our data is available daily, hourly, monthly, weekly. There's third-party entities that synthesize the data of your comp set, and you get to know kind of where you fall within the comp set, a ranking of, am I 3 in terms of occupancy? Am I number 4 or 5 in terms of rate? Why is this going on? And you have a lot of, and you can almost suffer from analysis paralysis, but there's a lot of checkpoints for you to look at and say, I'm performing well, I'm in the danger zone, or I'm doing really great, and there's some opportunities to do better, or how can I pivot and improve? The other thing is the level of support. So Kevin touched on it. There's going to be training provided. There's going to be information provided. The reason why we're seeing a lot of people move from other asset classes and other franchises into hotels is that we have third-party operators, right? Which means that there's a management company that you can bring in. They take anywhere from 2 to 4% of the gross revenue, and they run the day-to-day operations. You don't get calls about the call-offs. You just read reports. And they're really managing the day-to-day operation and really guiding the protection of the asset. Now, there's something else that's that's risen up in the past few years, and that's called an asset manager. That's that person who actually sets the strategy and manages the management company. Because if you're an investor, if you're full-time out there doing other things, a doctor, a dentist, or you have other business classes that you're focused on, lodging may not be your forte. And everybody's sitting around probably wondering, well, how do I know if the management company is lying to me? There's an asset manager that manages them. It's worth the money that you spend, but they really hold that management company's feet to the fire, and they make sure that they don't pull the wool over your eyes. That's the reason why a lot of people like it, is you get to do long distance, right? So for me personally, I'm a partner in a Holiday Inn all the way in St. Louis, right? I'm able to do that because we have a management company, right? The other thing to think about is that in closing here, you have an awesome opportunity for what COVID has done to the hotel industry. As you can imagine, with tourism being shut down, these were some of the most deeply affected assets throughout the country. You take, for example, I think 47% of CMBS debt that sits on hotels in New York City is in special servicing, meaning that they're in trouble. If you start looking at hotel transactions, just last week, we had a hotel that we took out to auction that was out to market last year at $11 million. They were entertaining offers earlier this year at, 7 to 8. We're under contract at sub $4 million, right? And this is a full service, 250 keys Sheraton hotel. They're getting the person under contract on the hotel actually submitted an offer for $7 million about 6 months ago. So this is a really awesome time for a large wealth transfer that's happening in the hotel ownership, and you want to be able to capture those. So in closing, I'll tell you, get comfortable with hotel auctions, get comfortable with the various auction websites, and also get comfortable with understanding note sales. There might be some opportunity to purchase debt, and you can get in the position of the bank, of the lender, which can be a really good opportunity as you pursue a path to fee simple ownership, or you just say, I want to clip the coupon and sit here and collect the debt, or you try to work it out with the person to restructure the debt. There's a bunch of different ways to get involved in the lodging industry. So I'll close out with that. I left my information in the chat now and kick it back over to Mr. Thompson.
Thank you. If you can put back if you can type Amari in the chat to some of those websites. I saw our national treasurer asking. We have a lot of our members that own multiple properties and commercial properties. Some people own 20, 30, 50 homes. And so I want you all to, in a few minutes, to kind of talk about how do you leverage those things to get into the hotel business? Because a lot of times we think you got to be like Don Peoples or Donald Trump or Kevin Hicks to, or Murray Head to get one of them hotels. But they own 5 or 10 hood houses or properties in the burbs, or a combination thereof, or got a 4-unit apartment building, or an 8-unit. So let's get into that. But what is the difficulty into getting into the hotel business? Both of you own hotels. How difficult is it? We have a lot of folks on here. Most of them own at least one residential property that they live in, and probably half of them own at least 2 to 3 other pieces of property, rather residential or commercial. How hard is it to get into the industry? What advice would you give?
Kevin, I'll let you go first.
Well, I want to broaden it and say that let's talk about the difficulty of getting into franchising in general. And hotel are franchise properties. The unfortunate reality is, as Mari will tell you, that most people don't know the majority of the hotels that you stay in are franchise hotels. And that includes the mega hotels that you go into, like the Marquis, which, as you know, in your area, an African-American is the leader of the ownership group of the Marriott Marquis, the largest hotel in the Eastern Seaboard. It is a franchise. The people in your organization are the most well-positioned to take advantage of entering into franchising. First of all, I'm in the business of creating millionaires. That is what my company does. We create millionaires, and we don't create individual millionaires. We create families that are millionaire families. To the degree that we don't do that, we at least create financial stability. I'll talk a little bit about how we do that later on, but franchising is the engine that we selected 20 years ago to do so. What's important to understand, I heard Omari said one of my favorite words, and to be fair to y'all, the conversation is going to change now because he and I are going to get real casual because we know each other, and your fearless leader is giving us the charge. We're going to talk real with y'all. In the next 25 years, we're going to experience the largest wealth transfer in the history of this nation. $68 trillion will be transferred. There's a lot of reasons why that is, and the only Black money in America is baby boomer money, which means you were born between 45 and 64. And the reason that that baby boom money exists is because there were programs that existed then that don't exist now, whether it's access to housing programs, access to education, companies having pensions. Black wealth is concentrated with the baby boom generation. As such, how do we participate in this great wealth transfer? Oh, by the way, the young sister Cardi B, the young sister Megan Thee Stallion had it wrong. It ain't the WAP that's gonna get you money. It's having relationships with real women, because 70% of that $68 trillion is going into the hands of females. Let me say that again, 78. So it is incumbent on you to forge relationships with female investors, female entrepreneurs, female professionals of any ilk, because that's where the money's going to go. In order to get into the hotel or the franchise game, you're generally going to have to finance your business. And in financing your business, and we'll talk about the different methodologies in a few moments of how you can finance your business, one of the key components is to get a business loan. To get a business loan, whether it's a conventional loan or whether it's an SBA loan, a Small Business Administration loan, an agency of the federal government that's charged with increasing jobs and entrepreneurship in this country. They have two primary loan programs. One is called the 504 program, which is for people who are interested in real estate-based businesses. The other is the 7A program, which is for every other kind of business, which may include real estate. That being said, the collateral that banks want is real estate, period. And so our people are not just at a disadvantage in terms of building wealth from home ownership by equity accumulation. They're at a disadvantage because they can't secure loans to grow businesses. That's why we have bootstrap businesses. That's why they were the most vulnerable during the great pandemic recession. And that's why 41% of all Black businesses have closed, because they were vulnerable businesses. They did not have access to capital. As a real estate owner, single home in the hood, or whether you have 50 or 20, as Antoine said, you are in a position to leverage that real estate to access capital to get into franchising, whether that franchise be a hotel, whether that franchise be restaurants, whether that franchise be non-food franchises. So we have to understand the significance of leveraging that asset in order to access entrepreneurship, in order to access capital. The other thing, and I'll do this one really quickly, what my firm does is we help to find assets for people. We help to raise the capital. We take them through the due diligence process of checking out the business. We use our relationships with the brands to get them approved. We do all of that. And then we negotiate development agreements so they can get the territory rights. All of that's important. But what's more important is we start thinking about cooperative and collaborative economics. You have members in this organization that own real estate. Maybe they're not liquid. You have other members in your organization who are liquid, or people like myself who are angel investors and will invest in businesses. You put up your pieces of real estate, I'll put up $150,000 or $200,000 for the deal. So we have to begin to think collaboratively. The example I use in workshops is, some of you people are familiar with PayPal. But what you don't know is it was created by a group of people that called themselves the PayPal Mafia. And with the PayPal Mafia, they created a business which they sold to eBay. They sold to eBay for $1.5 billion. But they made a vow to each other that what they would do is when they broke camp and they did their own thing, they would each invest in each other's business. And so the people in PayPal that you're familiar with, they created a little company called Tesla. That's Elon Musk. The people in PayPal that you're familiar with, they created a little company called YouTube. The people with PayPal that you're familiar with, they created a little company called LinkedIn. The people at PayPal and this mafia of 15 people, they created a little company called Yelp. These are iconic companies that you can't even imagine your life without. YouTube, LinkedIn. Why are we not creating those same kind of mobs as opposed to on rap records? Okay, why are we not doing the same thing with our businesses? And you're particularly positioned well to do it because you have the assets that banks like to see. Go ahead, Amari, you can take it.
Yes, Amari, before we go there, I want you to answer this as well. What made you get into the hotel game?
Yeah, so what made me get into it was simply having somebody around me to ask the question. It was, and this is going to probably be the least sophisticated answer, but my brother went to Cornell and he was an engineer, and we were dropping him off one day. My mom said, well, you like to travel, you like to eat, you like to talk to people. They have the top hotel program. You ever thought about that? And I was like, what? That's a job? And that just kind of stuck with me. So that's what made me really want to get into lodging was I like the engagement, and I like working with people and the coaching and the development. I like the opportunity that you can have somebody like myself that started out, from the South Side of Chicago, went to, hotel school, and started out working at the front desk, went through the ranks, got fired, went through the ranks, got fired again, and, can be a partner in a hotel investment. That's a unique opportunity. And at the end of the day, that the opportunity to create jobs and opportunity. And like Kevin said, really have those partnerships. Another question that was asked is, and I want to address is Airbnb an impact? So it's not just Airbnb, and I don't want to get too analytical with you, but there's something else called STR, short-term rentals. So there's like the aparttel concepts like Domio and Sonder. It depends on your market, which is why I'm a big fan of secondary and tertiary markets. Why? Because if you are in New York, STRs are a real thing, short-term rentals. Like that's a thing that can definitely impact hotels. And there has been some erosion of anywhere from 1% to 3% depending on certain markets. Now, one of the first hotels that I transacted was a Holiday Inn Express in Winona, Mississippi. Ain't no short-term rentals there in impact, right? Like it was a Holiday Inn sitting off on the side of a major highway, clearing over $1.5 million in revenue, easy, on accident, right? People that were coming, they just had to be there, and they were not going to stay on somebody's couch. That's just not a thing. So I like markets where you're protected. Kevin touched on the importance of women. So it is about WAP, but it's women as partners. So, definitely look at that as an opportunity when you go out here and you're really strategically putting together your team. Because the first question that you asked was, how do you get into hotels? And it is through partnerships. And how easy is it? It's easy through partnerships. It's easier, I'll say, because you need to have people that you can converse with. And when part of your ownership thesis is going to be who is on my team. And sure, we all have our personal board of directors, right? People that we run stuff through for different scenarios. It's the same thing for lodging investments. It's the same thing for getting into a franchise. I'm thinking about doing this. This individual has that level of expertise. They may not have done it in this field, but they understand numbers, right? My business partner, MBA, super Excel jockey, spreadsheet jockey, I call him. He's a mathlete, but he's not worked a day in a hotel, but he's brutal with the numbers. He gets it, right? And there's those and I've worked in hotels my entire life, and I do the analysis and the underwriting. So when we sit together and look at a deal, there's great synergy there. I have other partners that I lean on for asset management guidance. What would you do here? People that I talk to at the brands. So you need all those partnerships. And then speaking of partnerships with brands, they need us, right? So something happened in 2020 in addition to COVID, which was the world caught on fire, literally. And everybody had to rush and put out Black Lives Matter statements, and we're all about equality and stuff, and rushing to find all these people to throw on these corporate boards. But something else that was already happening that also put some fuel on that fire is that these brands are offering incentives to qualified minorities. Let me back that up, specifically Black, Latino, Latinx, to become first-time hotel owners.
So, Mamari, can you, what does that mean, qualified? I mean, that, when Black people hear that, what does that mean? Do we fit in that? I mean, break that down a little bit. Give us a couple examples. Do I need $1 million in the bank? I got to put all my houses up?
No. Qualified meaning that you have the relationships, that you've done your homework, and if we're talking about what it means fiscally, that you have shown some level of business savvy. Now, and it depends brand to brand. So there are some brands out there where it's a $10 million net worth, and that's a real quick conversation, right? Do you have $10 million net worth before I even send you the franchise disclosure document, the FDD, right? We're not even sending out no paperwork without that. Then there's other brands that they're open, right? So there's two routes. There's development and there's acquisition. Acquisition is much more approachable. I strongly suggest you not put shovels to dirt unless you know exactly what you're doing and you have all the stars aligned and like the municipality is making it rain incentives on you, all these type of things. Like I would strongly suggest that you not, because I always get that call. I got some dirt in Alabama that my granddaddy left to me and I want to put a boutique there. And it's just like, you know, may not be the best fit. Now, if you say that there's an existing hotel that's been an independent and it's in a decent location, independent it's not flagged, it's not affiliated with a franchise. You can, if you were to become owner of that hotel, you can approach a brand and say, can I affiliate this with your brand, right? And they'll give you incentive money, and it may be called key money, which is in the form of, you know, $1,000, $2,000 per room to do a renovation. It could be in the form of reducing or waiving the application fee, which can be as high as $75,000, $150,000 just to submit the application. It could be in the form of, as Kevin touched on, a royalty ramp or a marketing fee ramp, where hotel franchise fees on average total package can come out to 11.5%. You might be able to get that scaled down on a ramp. So to answer your question, qualify looks like a lot of different things, but I assume the folks on this would more than likely qualify.
Let me jump in real quick, Amari. You used a term called FDD. I want to tell the folks what that is.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Every franchise is required.
On the acronyms? No acronyms.
Right. Okay. Every franchise, okay, is required to produce a document called the franchise disclosure document. The reason is because a couple of 30, 40 years ago, franchise reps would go out and sell everybody they was going to make $1 billion, and they would sign them up. When they make $1 billion, they start to sue everybody. As you know, we're the most litigious nation in the world. That being said, the Securities Exchange Commission and the Trade Commission require that every franchise put together this document called the franchise disclosure document. In that document, it tells you who's running the company, what their experience is, basically their background and their resume. It tells you what the costs are to do that business as a startup and all the fees that it would cost you. It specifies the support services that you will get. Okay, it goes through that. It also gives you the phone number to all of the franchisees. So when you're doing your due diligence on what you want to get down with, you can get the phone number and call up current owners. It tells you any lawsuits that the people have had against that company. It tells you, any supplemental services that you're allowed as a franchisee to participate in. It also gives you the restrictions and the barriers within which you have to fall. So that's what an FDD is. And when you start with the franchise process, when you go onto those websites I told you, they're going to give you an information packet that they'll mail to you. They're going to qualify. You'll send an information. And when they see you're qualified, they will send you this FDD. The federal government will not allow them to sell you a franchise for a period of 20 business days. Why? They're forcing you to have the appropriate amount of time to learn everything about that franchise. You have to sign a receipt saying you got that. So now if you flip it and you try to come back and sue, you can't say, hey, I didn't know, because you signed that document that told you everything about the business. After that period of time, they'll get into more serious discussions with you about the franchise.
Hey, Kevin, I want to come back to stay with you real quick. So right now you got two things. You got COVID going on and you got George Floyd going on. Amari kind of touched on it a little bit, but I want you to kind of drill into the fact that COVID-19, all this federal money, all these commitments these companies are making, and these assets some of these franchises are very vulnerable. So is this a good time to buy? Because COVID is going to be over in about another 3 to 6 months. It's going to take a little time for a deal to go through. So is this a good time to start looking, or should you wait until next fall?
This is absolutely the wrong question to ask me. This has been the best year in the 20 years of my firm. It has been wonderful. I want to tell you that the remarks you're about to hear are not those of the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, but they are those of Kevin Hicks and his team at Black Men and Associates who try to get money. The reality is I am a contrarian investor. Fancy word, very simple. It means that I invest in times of economic stress because more fortunes are made then than in boom times. You should know that as realty people more than anyone. And so the creator of that particular philosophy was a gentleman named Baron Rothschild. Many of you heard this quote if you saw the Denzel Washington movie with Spike called Inside Man. And what he said was, when there's blood in the streets, buy assets. And you heard that quote. That's the foundation of the Rothschild fortune. Then a contrarian investor that you're all familiar with, Warren Buffett, he also said, when people feel greed, you should feel fear. When people feel fear, you should feel greed. I purchased the 2 Papa John's restaurants in the last 6 months. Okay. I purchased a trucking company, okay, which is going to do $2.4 million in revenues. Okay. And it's going to have 25 to 30% margins. And I have 3 female partners, because when I said, find something, y'all, I'll put the cake up with you. They was about that business. Brothers, step up or step to the side and let them work, because they were on it and they're exceptional partners. But the reality is that those 2 businesses I bought answer your question, Antoine. The reality is there are still people making money. How did y'all hear that billionaires increased their wealth by $800 billion if nobody was making money? The reality is what you do during these times is you try to find businesses that are going to thrive during the pandemic. And remember, the advantages I told you of a franchise is cooperative buying. I buy my meat at a price that is a national price. My guy down the street with the deli can't compete. What are the other benefits? I'm getting support services. What are the other benefits? They're giving me accounting programs to keep my books fresh, which is why a lot of people of color don't read or don't have access to capital, because they don't keep good books. What else are they giving me? They're giving me quality control products, quality control standards. So all of those things are benefits for me. That makes me more competitive during these times. Well, what businesses thrive? Most people don't know this, but FedEx allows people to pick up and deliver packages for them. The truck you see, I want you all to look on the side of the corner of those trucks. You'll see company names. It'll have the same colors as FedEx. They'll have the same uniforms, and they'll pick up and deliver, and they park their trucks at the same terminals. But those are individuals who own those businesses. And in your area is one of the hottest areas in the DMV, Antoine, in the country. My business is in Jersey. The other business I'm looking at to do another FedEx deal is in Atlanta. Those businesses are up by 40%. Why? Shutting in place required people to do a lot more e-commerce, including people who were afraid of it. It was not user-friendly to them. Now they've been conditioned to do it. So those businesses are up. Other businesses, why did I do Papa John's? Papa John's is a delivery model business anyway. So we're shutting in place. It's an inexpensive meal and people were buying more. Shaq should be given an award for turning around that company as a board member and a 40 restaurant owner and convincing them to move from Louisville. They'll be moving to Atlanta, their world headquarters, in the coming 3 to 6 months. So that's another business that's thriving. This is the best business year for Domino's or Papa John's. Why? Because of what I said. Other businesses that we know are going to thrive. The reality is people are not going to be buying large assets right now. So what's that? What's that mean? People are going to repair cars faster than they're going to buy new cars. Why aren't we doing Midas or Meineke? That's a franchise opportunity. A lot of people are going to be working remote from home, and many of those companies are not bringing them back. What does that mean? They're going to need access to getting materials for their business. That means they're going to be using UPS stores. That business right now is thriving. Why are we not doing that? We're in a health pandemic. The reality of a health pandemic is people's immune systems are being attacked. So what is happening? People are working out more, which is why Peloton stock is through the roof. What else is happening? People are more conscious of vitamins and supplements. GNC stores are banging right now. Why? Because we're in a global pandemic. That's a franchise. Why are we not in that business? So no, don't get it twisted. This is a wonderful time to get into business, but the right businesses. You have to identify. I love that Omari brought up something that most hotel people don't bring up. I don't want to buy a hotel right now. I don't, because I don't know when demand is coming back. And if I do, he will tell you, stop looking at the sexy big buildings, look at the small Fairfield Inn and Suites, look at the choice hotels like Comfort Suites, where people who have to still travel for face-to-face, that's where they're staying. The reality is, I want to buy the mortgage notes on some of these hotels. I can't lose. You got to pay me the interest and the principal. If you don't pay me that, I get your asset for pennies on the dollar. I could hold that. I'm with that. Why aren't we doing that as well? These are wonderful businesses. As I told Antoine, we have personal conversations. In 6 months, I increased my net worth by another $1 million, literally in 6 months during the pandemic. And I ain't all that smart. I just know how to make a move when I see opportunity. And I think the other thing that Omari said is really key, and that is we have to begin to create partnerships and make sure you get people who do not have your skill set and who have skill sets that when you collaboratively come together will give you the ability to do a couple of things. One, as my son says, level up. We can buy scale. So I'm not trying to buy one Popeye. I could buy 5 if I'm clicked up with 3 of y'all, okay? And we'll split that money. Most importantly, folks, Amari and I, not being honest with you, he was a little more than I was. It's a wonderful thing to get rich. It really is. But it's a more wonderful thing to touch lives and create sustainable jobs. The reason why our community is marginalized, and you saw it in this last election, is because we've not created an ecosystem in our communities of wealth. 25% of our people are living in poverty. We have to begin to create livable jobs. The people for the trucking company make $40,000 to $68,000. In New York City, minimum wage is $15. The people at the sandwich place make $30,000 to $40,000. Those are living wages. These jobs that we're talking about creating, okay, are important. I always joke with people, and I said it to Amari, I have more people working for me than Puff does. I have more people working for me than Yeezy does, and they're making living wages. It's a wonderful thing to have super achievers and have them getting loot. But what does that do for us as a community? And then when we want to go leverage that, what does that do when Antoine calls me and he calls me, okay, for a fundraiser for a particular politician and we can't raise funds for them, I can call 5 of my guys right now and we can raise $50,000. That's why he calls me. But the reality is, then we get a seat at the table. Then y'all have my ear, and I'm not there representing me, I'm there representing you. But none of that happens if we don't begin to create businesses that create jobs with living wages. And as a real estate organization, I want you to expand your concept of real estate. Omari's in the real estate business too. A hotel is simply a real estate-based asset that does commercial business. The reality is, why are you not buying more strip centers? I took a challenge a few years ago from your former president and Antoine. They brought 2 young men to me from Atlanta who wanted to get into strip centers. They were going about it all wrong. I told them that the SBA 504 program, gentlemen, is a 10% down program with a 25-year mortgage. And right now, 504 loans are 2%. One more time, 2%. I can get you to buy this strip center, 10% down of all your project costs, not just the acquisition costs, and you can build another business, throw a Wingstop into that loan, and it's now a 25-year loan at 2%. And in our neighborhoods, strip centers are $600,000 to maybe $2 million. Why are we not owning that real estate?
Kevin,
Famously, a former president said that.
Kevin, why don't you just tell me, now you said you met with those guys, but did they do anything?
Oh, no, they have 2, right now, these 2 brothers, one under 30, one just over 30. They both have 2 strip centers in the city of Atlanta.
Thank you. So I want you all to understand, we got to wrap up. They're giving me the hook, but I want to make sure you guys, we want to thank you for coming. We'd love for you to come back. The chat is on fire. I just want, in closing, if we could just get you to each really quickly, just say about how do they know when they're ready? That's it. If you could just tell me, how did you know when you're ready, and how will they know when they're ready? And we got to close it up. Thank you.
I'll take that real quick. I knew when I was ready to put my house on the line, when I had done all the homework and I had made the right relationships, and I had to go to my partner and sell her on the fact that we're putting our house on the line. How will you know when you're ready? Is when you're ready to make the sacrifice, when you're ready to depart from that capital. And a lot of you knowing is because you know that you've gotten all that you can get, just kind of, through Google University and YouTube, and that you've tapped as many resources as you can, and you're comfortable expressing what you do not know, and you're bringing in experts and partners to do that.
All right, Mr. Hicks.
You knew you were ready because you woke up this morning. The reality is today's actions is a contribution to tomorrow's legacy, and we have to begin to think about legacy. You know you're ready because you've already done the daring thing of becoming entrepreneurs, and we have the lowest percentage of entrepreneurship any ethnic group in this country. You are already the warriors. You are the real heroes. We are just here to share some ideas. You are ready now because you're already doing it. What we have to do is create legacy. I appreciate you doing that. But again, I would seriously request that you all think about partnering up and expanding your concept of real estate, expanding into the franchise arena. It's not either or, it's and both.
Well, I got a bunch of private messages, Kevin and Amari. I got a growing list of people that want to have a little private session. If you all are up to that, we'd love to have some folks that want to say they got some money to put up and they would love to have a next step type of conversation. So we'll follow up with you all on that as well. I want to thank you all for participating. I want to thank our sponsors. I'm going to turn it over to our 31st president, Mr. Donnell Williams. I believe he is on. Miss Jill, is he on yet? I can't see.
No, he's not on yet.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it back over to you, but let's put our hands, let's give a virtual welcome, thank you to these gentlemen. They provided a wealth of information. My lady is on the phone. She is in Buffalo right now looking for an investment property. And Amari, you know, I told you, we trying to do something within the next year. So I'm Kevin, you know, I got a good team. I got a network. So I got,
absolutely.
You know, I need you to help us make it rain with all these friends I know around the world.
We're going to do that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, thank you so much to our amazing speakers. I don't know about y'all. It's cold outside, but I am on fire. You two gentlemen are wonderful. Thank you. And we want everybody to keep that momentum going. Join us at 2 o'clock for our next session. That is that's going to be focused on our faith-based organization, re-engaging your civic and faith-based organizations during the pandemic. That starts in 1 minute. So hang on tight. Thank you again, Mr. Hicks and Mr. Head. And for those of you that have to leave us today, thank you for joining us.